Yeah, this is,
Yes, it is.
but I'm also 18.
Tom, you start recording.
Wow. I want to do this. We're going to bunch up.
Recording in progress.
All right, well, welcome everyone. It's now about 6:31 p.m. I'd like to call to order the Fenton Township Board meeting on this 7th day of March, 2023. I would ask everyone to please stand for the opening prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Trustee Gopal, will you please lead us?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of our community. We ask for peace in the warring countries. Bless the sick, the injured, and those who have passed as we pray for an end to the conflicts that exist today. We ask this in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could I ask everybody to please stay standing? We have a birthday girl here with us today. So if you don't mind, we would all like to sing happy birthday to our attorney, Amanda. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Amanda. Happy birthday to you.
All right. 1 to 9, in case you were wondering. How many times? Which anniversary?
That was nice. Mark, as always, thank you.
Yes, sir.
For the opening prayer. Clerk Crew, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Lorraine.
Present.
Reed.
Here.
Contract.
Here.
Krug is present. Kessler is absent. Gopal.
Here.
Tucker.
Present.
You have 6 members present.
Thanks, Bob. I'd like to note for the record that our attorney and birthday girl, Amanda Doyle, our operations manager, Tom Broker, our assessor, Julia Wilson, and fire chief, Ryan Volz, are also present. Yes. Additionally, the following township officials are also present virtually via Zoom, and that is our township engineers, Alan and Melissa Lawrence. Tom, will you detail the procedures for tonight's meeting for those attending virtually?
Yes. To the members of the public attending tonight's meeting in person or via Zoom, please be advised this meeting is being recorded to be shown on public access television, Spectrum Channel 191. Recorded meetings are also posted on the Fenton Area Community Television YouTube channel. For those attending via Zoom, we ask that you keep your microphone muted until we reach portions of the meeting where public comment is allowed. For tonight's meeting, there are 2 public hearings: a street improvement special assessment hearing for Pinnacle Shores and an industrial facilities tax exemption hearing for Allied Industrial. All other public comment will be taken near the end of the meeting. Meeting materials are available for download on the township website at fentontownship.org.
All right, thanks, Tom. Moving on to the first business in order, which is the approval of the agenda. Are there any requests to amend tonight's agenda?
Would please remove the reckless discharge of firearm ordinance for consideration until Attorney Belzer returns to our presence.
I agree with that. Any other request to amend tonight's agenda? All right, a motion is in order to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Crew, will you please call the roll?
Yes. I vote yes. Contract.
Yes.
Kessler is absent. Reed.
Yes.
Gopal.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, agenda stands approved as presented. Moving on to the next business order is the meeting minutes. Included in the packet are the minutes from the February 21st regular meeting. Are there any corrections or requested revisions to these meeting minutes? Hearing none, the meeting minutes stand approved as presented. Moving on to the next business order, which is expenditures. Are there any questions from the board regarding any of the invoices? Hearing none, a motion is in order to approve the expenditures totaling $601,789.32 per payment.
So moved.
Support.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Reed.
Yes.
Gopal.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Kessler is absent. Lorraine.
Yes.
I vote yes. Contract.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, expenditures stand approved as presented. Moving on to public hearings. This is the proposed street improvement special assessment district, Pinnacle Shores, hearing of necessity. This is a public hearing on the creation of a special assessment district to repave all streets in the Pinnacle Shores subdivision. The estimated total cost of the project is $800,000. The board will now accept public comment on the following only: the creation of the special assessment district, the proposed boundaries of the district, the necessity of the improvement, the preliminary plans for the improvement, and the estimated cost for the improvement. I will now open it up for public comment. Before I do that, we have some written comments. Tom, would you like to just kind of give an overview?
Yes, we have, we received 2 by email, or 1 by mail, letter of objection from Dimitri and Jacqueline Controusis, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, and a letter of support from Robert and Norma Jean Wolf. And then late this afternoon, you have on paper in front of you, we have an email with some concerns from Linda and Ken Weiss. So that's the extent of the comment we received, either by mail or email.
All right. Again, this is, I'm going to now open it up for public comment. Is there anyone here in person that would like to address the board? Yes, sir, in back there, yes. Would you please, can you come up to the podium here? And what I'd like you to do is state your name, and if you could please limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Yep, I'll be brief, sorry. So my name's Andy Danko. I live at 4400 Oak Tree Court. It's in the back corner of the sub. Couple comments. So we moved back from Fort Wayne, Indiana in 2019. I had a list of 15 houses on the list. My son-in-law was looking through the houses, called me up and said, hey, you don't want to go to Pinnacle Shores. The roads are a wreck and it's an old sub. I almost didn't look at my house. Just the perception of pulling in is just awful, and I think a lot of people agree with that. And it's embarrassing when you tell people to come to your house and they drive through. It's like somebody dropped a bomb on the road. It's really pretty ugly. Beyond that, we have a lot of grandkids, no kids that live with us. It's difficult at best to take a walk with a stroller. There's parts, even if we skipped Oak Tree Trail, there's areas where you can't take a stroller even around the block. It's hard to navigate with the potholes and the size of the ruts in the road. Our older grandkids can't ride their scooters. It's really unusable, most of the road surface. And I know this sounds funny, but I have a heavy duty pickup truck, and one of our grandkids has one of those helmets, you know, the one that fixes the head. And his head shakes so violently when we come in on Oak Tree Trail that my wife has to hold his head when we come through the sub. I mean, it's just basically takes your truck and rattles it. So it's gotten worse. I don't know if everybody knows. In the last week, oh my God, there's potholes that are opening up the size of this, podium. They'll come fill them once a year, but I would say within days, not even a week, it erodes and it's gone. So that's my justification. I mean, it's really bad. If you drive through there, you just won't want to, and it's embarrassing. It's a nice neighborhood. Concerns? I've been through this. We did a special assessment where I have a place up north and did roads on our private road. So my only concern is to make sure it's done right. Right. So if you get a contractor in there that just scarifs an inch off the top and goes over top with pavement, even up where I am, up in the back of the sub, every 25 feet you have those ba-boom, ba-boom. Those will come back in a year if it's not done properly. So I just wanted to make sure whatever contractor we get in there, we're going to pay a lot of money that they really do it right, do the sub work right on it, and a year from now it's worthwhile. So, but just my pitch. It's tough with the kids. It's hard for us because our grandkids really have a hard time playing in the neighborhood. So.
All right, Andy, thank you.
Yep.
Just so you know too, our engineers, Alan and Melissa Lawrence, are on Zoom, so we can maybe touch on that later. If you remind me at the end, you don't have to stand up. You could just remind me. Sure. I can have them actually discuss the type of engineering that's going into the project.
Yeah, the prep is really important.
Maybe I can help you out.
Huh?
Sure.
We had a meeting with the road commission here last week, and they went through in detail of they're taking 2.5 inches off in any of the ground that is broken. So they're going all the way down to soil, filling it up, and then cresting it so the water
Right.
will come off the center of the sides and drain off properly.
So there'll be large portions where it's like Beirut, where they'll take the
I
whole
think
thing
on
out and then
Pinnacle
the rest of
Shores,
it will be
there's
scraped off.
300 feet that they're gonna do that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So
I'm not saying,
they-
I'm not saying that I have any evidence that it's not gonna be done right. I'm just saying I have experience where one time I was in the neighborhood, they didn't do it right, and a year later it was horrible again. And one place where they really did it right, it's been 12 years and it looks beautiful. So just make sure we do it right.
They're
Thanks,
out
Andy.
to do it right.
Right. Okay.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that's, yes, sir. Just come up to the podium, please, state your name.
Good evening, neighbors. My name is Randy Merling. I am at 4400 Oak Tree Trail, which is the second house as you come into the subdivision on the left-hand side. While I do share concerns about some of the conditions, particularly, and we all know that this is from the construction traffic, you know, Tom Atwell's crews, you know, and other contractors have outrageous loads, and as a result, those have deteriorated. The pothole situation that Andy described is every year it gets accelerated. These big heavy trucks obviously are just wrecking the roads. So in light of the number of construction sites that are going to be available, this is my understanding, is this, and I'll ask this question, am I correct? We are the second phase into that construction. There isn't a third phase out in the back section. Is anybody aware?
There's more phases, I don't know which number they're on, but.
Okay, my understanding is that the bare land in the back there is designated as phase 3 of Tom Atwell's original proposal for all of his properties in there.
Actually, phase 3 is a little more than that.
Well, that's right, okay, yeah.
Phase 1 is simply this up front.
Correct.
Phase 2 started here.
Correct.
Okay, and I believe a lot of this is phase 3 along here. And what do you
And, well, yes, and that also.
Yeah, and that, because phase 3 was put in years ago as well.
This also runs out to Fenton Lake Road over here.
His property right here, the
Right.
2-track, right.
And that is up and coming, okay, so if sometime down the road, that is a possibility. So in lieu of that, my understanding was that Tom Atwell should have an ingress and egress. So if he's gonna continue with a phase 3, these roads are gonna get beat up again. I don't give a crap if you put 2.5 inches down, that's not gonna get it. 4 inches is then our standard requirement for most city and township services, as I understand it. My point here is, if phase 3 is gonna be coming, Tom needs to either A, address that egress going out to Bennett Lake Road, maybe make that the construction site so that our phase 1 and 2 doesn't get tore up again. All right, I don't want to be paying for this again down the road. I mean, I'm not going to be around that much longer, but I just can't see why my $8,000 price tag or whatever it's going to cost us over the course of the 10 years is, and that was another question. Is that the correct number? Are we confident in that number that you guys gave us?
It's an engineer's estimate. You never know until the bids go out.
Okay, well, there's another concern I have. If that
Well,
price tag should go up, you're gonna be taxing me out of business or out of my house.
There's a mechanism. If it's more than 10% of the estimate, then we bring you back in and we talk about it.
So 10% over the call it 8,000,
Right.
correct?
Right.
Over the course of 10 years, is that the interest included stuff as
No,
well?
you're gonna get to this point, you know, depending on what happens here tonight, if it moves forward, then it's gonna get released for bids. And when it gets released for bids, you'll know whether the engineer's estimates are accurate or inaccurate.
Okay.
If they're inaccurate, then or if they're accurate, we just proceed. If they're more than 10% above what is estimated, then we come back and talk about it to see, Because right now, we've got over 50% of the frontage and over 50% of the parcels that have signed in favor of doing this.
At that, but they're under the.
At this number.
Right, exactly.
So if the number goes up,
Number goes
that's to
up,
give everybody the-
you recall us and say,
We
hey,
talk about it, yeah.
let's talk,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
All right. I just want to make sure my neighbors are all on board with that aspect. But, and in the awareness of the Phase 3 stuff, could potentially determine, I do have one other question. Had there been any consideration in, and I know as much as everybody wants to see the whole thing done, there are certain sections that are way worse than others. There's some sections that are really not that bad at all. Was there any consideration given to a partial, maybe sections of this subdivision?
I don't have any specific.
Because there's
knowledge, but
there's a lot of good roadway left.
What typically happens in this scenario is, see, the township does not initiate this.
I know.
This is initiated by the residents. So what we have in front of you is what was brought to us. I can't tell you if they've considered other alternatives. My guess is that they did, but that would simply be a guess.
Well, let me.
I can speak to that.
What, one thing, okay? Most of the construction, when they come into the subdivision, they're coming down Lake Forest Drive, correct? Right? And they're gonna go down Oak Tree Trail, and then they're gonna come down Oak Tree Court to do these constructions down here that are still vacant lots. Not always do they go this way.
They come down, they never come down.
Pardon me?
They come down.
Well, they come, all right, so you're saying they do come frequently. Well, my other point is, this end of the subdivision over here, the roads are still actually fairly decent.
Wait, hold on a second, hold on.
Time out, time out.
All right, time out. Seriously, time out. Let's let one person talk at a time.
I'm Travis
Do you mind?
Turner.
Yep, there you go.
I'm Travis Turner. Hello, Tom. I'm the one that kind of started this off. Appreciate everybody's feedback, comments. For sure, this has been kind of a long deal here. I actually started this back in May without even contacting the township. I actually went to a third party to see what it would cost approximately. And that third party came pretty close to what the township or the road commission came up with. So we know the costs are pretty close. But to talk to Jason, you says Oak. What's your street again? Oak Tree Court. It's a terrible road actually. An Oak Tree Court, right? It's you're right.
Yeah, cul-de-sac.
The cul-de-sac is awful. Actually, the road is terrible. And actually, something to think about. The construction traffic. I get the concern, but that road right there, that cul-de-sac, there's no construction traffic. Zero construction traffic, and that road is falling apart. So I get the concern about the construction traffic, but if it's done correctly, which it wasn't originally, personally I don't think it's an issue, but I respect everybody else's opinion.
Just one comment to that. I agree with that, but I think we all feel the same way. And I've talked to Tom about this, and I thought he was going this route. Even if he did a temporary gravel construction entrance over to, I don't know the names of roads, they're not long, this one right here. If you just went this way, even with a gravel construction entrance, the whole thing would go away. Because even me being over here, it's just always construction stuff all over the road. I'm constantly out there cleaning up the road.
Right.
Construction. And I'm weird about that, but I blower and stuff. It's just annoying. I mean, just on a side comment, that's not part of the meeting, but I think everybody here would feel better about the expenditure if he had a temporary construction access, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree 100%. I mean, just something to think about though. Just think of all the garbage trucks, the buses, construction traffic. I mean, there's a lot of truck traffic that's going on those roads. It's not just, Atwell's building construction traffic, but, something, if we can't get a construction entrance, more than likely, this project won't start until 2024. I don't know when phase 3 is going to continue, But the plan, and I've seen the plot plan, there's an entrance off of Bennett Lake Road. So in theory, you shouldn't even have to have a construction entrance. You should have the entrance or the exit from phase 3. I've seen it. So I think it's definitely an item that most people are worried about, and it's legit.
Why do you make them use that road?
I can't answer that one. That's for these guys. But I mean, if I would think,
We can talk all day, but if we can't get them to come in some other way, what are you gonna do?
yeah. And another thing to think about, and this is off top, and then I'll stop. We have to also be careful. If we have an entrance off the back, off of Bennett Lake Road, that will become a through street, guaranteed. It's just something to think about. And then you'd probably need to talk about putting a gate or something, so you're not having through traffic going north and south. So just something to think about. I can't answer that. Maybe you guys can have maybe talk a little bit about the entrance and how do we force it. I don't know if we can force it, but it's obviously a concern. I don't know if it's a concern enough not to go forward, but I can't answer that for everybody else.
Thanks, Travis.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
A question of you, Travis, actually, or of all of our neighbors. So we are really new homeowners, so we're missing the context, I guess. But you made a comment when you were speaking about it not having been done correctly in the first place. Is that we're missing the context on that portion of things. So we think that it was not done correctly the first time, and that it being done correctly this time would resolve the issue for, a substantial period of time.
Great question. It's a great question. I'm not an expert in it. I'm going off of what I've talked to people that are so-called experts. Engineering folks from, actually I brought in last May, and he said that the stones that you see when you're driving on, when you're walking on the road, the stones in the asphalt, should be able to see that. Should not be able to see that. That's wrong.
Okay.
And if you see like where there's sinkholes, where the drains are, that shouldn't happen either. So
Yeah, so to reinforce that, up where we are, where the roads are supposedly good, way up on the end there, on the Oak Tree Court, and Stepping Stone, I'm on the corner. The stones just come up like within a month. I go out there and sweep and go along the street because my kids can't play out there. And they come out and then you sweep and they come up.
All right, we're going to kind of move on. If you don't mind, I'm not trying to interrupt anybody, but if you guys are just talking, we're not hearing everything. So, is there anybody else here that is present that would like? Yes, sir. Come up to the podium, please.
My name is Thomas King. I live at 16334 Sleepy Hollow Drive. And Kathy and I have been there for over 25 years. I think we were the first people living in the subdivision. So I've seen it from the beginning to where it is now. And my concern, and it's always been a concern since I've been there, is we've had drainage issues on the street. It's just not, it wasn't done right from the get-go. And so my concern going forward now, once everything is approved, making sure that we have the proper drainage so we wouldn't have, certain areas being flooded, people's, yards getting totally, ruined and wet when it rains. And that's basically my concern when it comes down to the sewer drainages and all that stuff. And that's part of the problem with the roads because of the lack of drainage and everything. So hopefully what I say is, will transition into something that we can have that would be an improvement to our subdivision. Because we have invested a lot of money into our homes. And when people, like someone mentioned that when they come to our subdivision, your house looks great, but it's like going through Beirut when you drive in the road, man. Okay? All right.
Thanks, Thomas.
Yep.
So the engineer's estimate includes considerable amount of work with drainage structures, adjusting cover heights, replacing pipes, and because it's a curb and gutter, they can make sure that the road drains to the gutter and then the gutter is drained properly. So this should take care of the drainage problems, and Mr. King is exactly right. You take care of the drainage problems, it fixes a lot of road problems because it doesn't fall apart.
Yes, sir.
I'm Bruce Baird. I've been living here for 20 years. My wife and I are in Redwood Court. Many years ago, Ed Nichols and I tried to put a thing together like this to get the road done way back. And we could never get to 50%. I went to every house in the subdivision. And we couldn't get to 50%. And most of them that didn't want to okay it was because of the construction trucks. They said those trucks are going to come in here and ruin the road as soon as we get it in. So, and I reiterate what these gentlemen have been saying. I've seen the plot for that third area down there where Tom is, and he's got the roads are all in, the plots are all set up and everything. He's ready to go sometime or other here. And I was wondering, there's another thing I don't think anybody said about finishing this guy right there. If you finish that, the truck can come in and go over here to Heartbeat. Or, like they said, come in off of Bennett Lake Road. He's had that lane there for forever, and people have been using it, whether he likes it or not. So anyway, that's what I have to say. I agree with everybody. You know, those people on what's the road coming down from West Route down to Halloween.
Sleepy Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow.
Halloween.
Man,
Word association.
I knew it was a Halloween thing. But anyway, down Sleepy Hollow, I remember years ago, that flooding came down over that hillside, and the poor guy down at the end, he got that house, his house was dumped in water all the time. So those people along, I think 3 or 4 of them, had to pay for putting a drain in that thing. And there's always been a rumor, and I'm just saying it's a rumor, it was always said that Atwell did not finish the top layer of that street, our streets. And that's why it's been falling apart. So anyway, I would like somebody to think about fixing that little, finishing off that little, even if they left it dirt, to let the trucks come up through there for some period of time, and then finish it. So anyway.
Bruce, I can't tell if you're in favor or opposed.
I think I'm going to be in favor.
Huh?
I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that's here currently present? Yes.
I'm Tim Hudson. I live on Oak Tree Court. My question is essentially for you. What is your authority to have another ingress or egress for construction? Do you have any authority?
Nope.
Can we stop the trucks from coming all the way through the sub to get to the back?
No.
We can't. And because he owns the property, there's nothing that we can do to have him, even if we paid another $2,000 to appease him, there's really nothing we could do to make that happen.
You need to talk to Tom Atwell, because what it has to be, because your roads are not private roads, assuming
They're not.
somebody told me they're public roads, you can't put up gates, you can't regulate who comes in and out, but you can talk to Tom and tell him what the concern is. And
well, all right.
I understand.
What's
But-
that now? Excuse me once.
Would there be a weight limit put on it?
Oh, yeah, a weight limit. Is a weight limit put on our roads?
These are public roads.
Public roads.
So it runs under a statute. There's
Genesee County design specs that these roads were supposed to meet, and it sounds to me like they did not. And I'll talk. I wanted to let everybody talk first, but my subdivision just went through this a couple years ago, so I feel your pain. I know where you're all at. I've heard all this discussion. Travis, I've been pounding on doors. If you can get to 52%, it's a freaking miracle. So we'll talk about that, but seriously, there's enough of you. You all put money in Tom Atwell's pocket, okay? If you get together as a group and get his attention and say, look, you know, we need to address this, because where this construction traffic issue is gonna go is something he's gotta control through his contractors. He has the ability. You have to provide him the motivation. Okay? There's enough of you to do that. Well,
But he has no motivation.
The only motivation be that we,
you guys are the motivation. You are the motivation.
Build that subdivision, that's motivation.
All right. Let's try and keep it. Time.
Yeah.
Time out. Time out. We're trying to do a formal meeting here. Let this gentleman finish, and then we'll keep going here.
So my question was answered then. There's really nothing you can do. My next one was going to be for Amanda because I can see attorney under there, but there's really not anything she can tell me either.
My answer is the same as the other attorneys.
And I was in when Bruce and Ed did the one a few years ago, and we were right at 50%. And that was the thing. And this was 5 years ago, and the roads were horrible then. So right now, all I'm concerned with is that they're done properly. And you say that the road commission has figured out a way to get that done. And there's nothing we can do about a second egress. It's just the way it is.
I think as a group you can.
Explain to me what I would need to have some type of an idea to get creative here. If I wanted to talk to Tom and I had a group that was backing me,
Yeah.
how would that conversation go? Because Tom's pushing 100, I think, and I don't think he has any motivation to really care.
Well, I cannot promise anything, but I will visit him with a phone call.
Okay.
And if you guys want to meet to talk about that issue, I will try to persuade him to do that.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Just one question.
Get us to fix his
Can-
bid down the entryway there. He wants us to do it, and it's his,
I understand.
his property, his business.
It's easy to talk to you one at a time like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
But, and I can't promise any results, but in terms to answer your question, that's where the solution has got to come from.
Okay. And you'll make a phone call and
I will
get
make
a
a
hold
phone
of
call.
Travis.
Yeah.
John, I do have one question.
On behalf of the residents, since I'm not a long timer, I have the ability to talk to Tom, I don't know why. But I will, and I've talked to him about this before, I will take that on to help this group, I make the call, please. But I'll contact him in the next couple of days, talk to him about this meeting, and see if I can get any traction. Okay.
Thank you.
I'll take that on.
I do have a question for you. They say there's a phase 3, and again, this is just my naivety, but phase 3, can the planning commission, does the planning commission have the power to say, in order for you to start phase 3, we are going to require a second ingress and egress plan?
Yeah, that's, Amanda asked the salient question. I don't know where that's at in the approval process. All right, now you're going to hear a little bit from me because
I was just going to lead into you.
and I'm not, and we're not done with there. We got a bunch of people on Zoom. I built my house in the year 2000, 23 years ago. It's over off Tupper Lake. Before I built that house, I tried to buy a lot from Tom Atwell in what is you are describing as phase 3, as frontage on Marl Lake. I wanted frontage on Marl Lake. As you can guess from the rest of the story, Tom was not willing to sell me that property 23 years ago. So phase 3 has been hanging around for 23 years. You know how long the build-outs, he does slow build-outs. And the reason they're slow is for a long time he wouldn't let anybody build other than him. So it slows the process down. So as I mentioned to you a few minutes ago, I just went through this process, and I've been on the board for 20 years, so I've had this discussion about a lot of different roads. Okay. This board has heard from a lot of folks similarly situated to you. I'm going to let you in on a news flash. these roads aren't gonna get better by themselves. Okay? Before COVID, we were told that to replace a road, $1 million a mile. That's pre-COVID pricing. We have the engineers on the line, that's probably 1.2, 1.3 per mile. We have residents in our township that have been to a meeting like this, decided not to proceed forward. They're at a point now where they have to completely rebuild the roads. Okay? $800,000 is not chump change. I don't want you to think that. I don't know what the, do we know the numbers yet for the assessments? We got a range on that? Or are we not there
By
yet?
112.
Yeah, I was gonna say
800 by
112.
112, so like 76, 78.
Yeah, so we'll call it $8 grand. A lot of money, okay? It is. It's a lot of money. You wanna see and pine for $8 grand? Wait 5 more years. Okay? It's gonna be double that. You'll be kicking yourself. Okay, so I had a great experience in our subdivision other than the knocking on the doors. It's really, really, really hard to get 50% of the people to agree to spend money at this level. I will tell you that that experience was 100% positive when we were done. Now, I did not have the county that did this. This was a private contractor, and we were fortunate that the owner of the asphalt company lives in our subdivision. So I think we had, great, it's really great, because everything that everybody's been saying, if it's not done right, it's gonna mirror, 100% true.
You had a good engineer too.
A dang good engineer. That was the engineer. So, a lot of talk about the construction traffic. Here's what I've been told by an engineer. And I'm not an engineer, I am not a road expert. I try to defer to those people that know. What they tell me is that a properly designed road that is completed is designed to bear the weight of all the construction traffic. And Travis was correctly pointing out to you what goes on. He talks about school buses, he talks about garbage trucks that come in every week, okay? Does anybody in a subdivision have a swimming pool? Where do you think that water comes from? How heavy do you think that truck is? So the roads, from an engineering standpoint, are designed to bear that. So why do we have to spend money on roads, right? It should last forever, okay? The biggest problem with roads is age and lack of maintenance. I'm gonna add a third category for your folks, because it sounds like poor design in inception is a problem. Because if you got drainage problems out there, and once the road starts breaking apart, every one of these trucks is gonna tear it up, because it's lost its structural integrity. So I would tell those of you that are opposed to this, bite the bullet on this. You're gonna come out farther ahead. We had people in another subdivision come in, they were from the Detroit area, and they talked about a Channel 4 news series that came to their subdivision. Not the kind of news series that you wanna have, because it was exactly the kind of comments that you were making about the roads being in Beirut and what it had done to the property values. I'm gonna guess what the number was, but it was 30 to 40% reductions in property values because the roads were so horrible that you couldn't get a buyer to come look at it. Okay, so this is not fun. Paying for it is not fun, but you're at a point where you can avoid a much larger problem. I shall shut up now.
Thanks, John.
Who's responsible for phase 3 roads at this point? I'm imagining beautiful new roads in this section, and then Atwell putting in new roads for phase 3.
What we,
those
yeah,
tearing-
you know
those
what,
tearing all apart.
we do need to stop, have people stop talking from the, just because, we do need you to come up and state your name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, Andy Kearns, 43260 Oak Tree Court. I'll be listed under John, that's my legal name. I was just curious who would be responsible for the new roads going in. I'm imagining new roads and then Atwell putting in subpar new roads for phase 3.
let me tell you what we've done, because I also sit on the planning commission. Since 2008, those of you that follow real estate, market meltdown, okay? There were a ton of subdivisions in the township that had base coats, didn't have top coats. And my comments about the engineering design structure of the roads, in those meetings, we were talking about this, and when you leave the top coat off, it's not up to its design capacity at that point, okay? So there was, to me, a big surprise that engineering and retail sales and all the folks involved agreed that the roads need to be completely finished at the beginning. And again, we had the same discussion about construction traffic, because for years, that was something that I said until the engineers talked to me. So, long story to tell you in short, what we've done is we've changed the ordinance now, so when phase 3 roads go in, it's not just the base. The base and the top coat all have to go in before he pulls a single occupancy permit. And again, that gives the road the engineering integrity that it needs to be able to handle the loads that it's going to get.
Okay. That was my concern, is that it would be different. We'd be back here talking about phase 3 roads.
We are here to help, my friend.
Okay.
Andy. Julia.
Julia Wilson, the assessor for Fenton Township. I just want to address, a lot of people are talking about the remainder parcel that's out there. That is actually going to be phase 4. And this is a platted subdivision, and he has not even started at state with those additional phases. So you're looking at probably, what would you say, John, at least another year and a half?
Oh, yeah.
Before any of those other lots are going to be divided and split out. There's a difference between a site condominium subdivision and a platted subdivision. A site condominium subdivision can probably be up and running within 6 months. When you're looking at a platted subdivision, you're looking at a year and a half to almost 2 years, because you have to go through and get all the state approvals. Unless he changes this from a platted sub to a site condominium, and I don't even know if he can do that, can he?
He could.
So,
he'd have to come back.
So he could do that, but so what you're looking at right now with everybody's worry on the construction traffic is, and I think this was taken last May, and I think some of those lots already in there already have other houses on them. So those blank lots that you see without a house on, that's the only development you're going to have for at least a year and a half to 2 years. So that gives a little bit of insight of a time frame, because it kind of sounded like everybody was talking that he's going to start building this summer on that field piece, and that's not going to happen. So you just got what he has left there, maybe 8 to 10 lots in construction.
Thank you, Julia.
Yeah.
All right, is there anybody else in the audience that's present here tonight that would like to address the board? Come up.
My name's
No
Philip.
harassment of the speakers.
I'm used to it. I got broad shoulders. My name's Philip Cook, and we live at 4337 Oak Tree Court. My question is of the board is that are you aware of any limitation on the amount of lots in any particular subdivision before a second entrance has to be installed?
It's all part of the plan approval process, okay? And that second entrance has been there from day one. And I can tell you, and this board knows, are we down to every 2 years now? I don't know. He got approvals a million trillion years ago. I think before any of us were born, he got approvals for this subdivision. And he comes in every year or two and asks for extensions of those approvals, which we have given him. But they are just big picture approvals of the general layout of the whole piece. Okay, when you get down to the specifics, the phase 3 or 4 or whatever it is, he's got to come in front of the planning commission. I can't tell you that he hasn't been there. I've only been on the planning commissions for 23 years. So there may be some approval there, but I don't think so. I'm pretty sure he's going to have to come in when he gets to that point. And as Julia pointed out, the plat process is not speedy, so I don't know where he's at. When I do call him, I will ask him where he's at and try and get a a time frame out of him. But the planning commission, I think, will have some power over him when he comes back, particularly with respect to the construction traffic, because we have in the past said as a condition of approval that all the construction traffic is going to come through this road or that road.
Okay, one of my concerns is the fact that if we have a major traffic incident at the entrance, it's not unforeseeable to see a truck come down there, have a rollover crash and block the entrance to the subdivision, which could be for hours, and which basically locks everyone in.
Which happened recently.
Which did happen recently, and you can have medical emergencies, you can have an innumerable number of
Back
things.
row back there is our fire chief, and he's in the loop when we're doing these approvals. And when I say the loop, that's one of the things he looks at. He checks to make sure there's 2 viable means of ingress and egress. We've had, blast through lots in adjoining subdivisions to allow for trucks to get in and out. But that's something that he watches, and I believe this secondary access to Bennett Lake Road has always been on the books to provide that secondary source of access.
Well, and he has provided a picture of what it could be, excuse me, but the reality is we could be faced with a tragic situation at any time, and I would think that prior to him being given any approval for further expansion, that one requirement would be he has to complete that road. Like I say, the construction traffic to me is not as much of a concern as trying to get an ambulance in, to have to pick up somebody to save their life.
Fire truck, ambulance.
Ambulance, fire truck. I mean, you can get a helicopter in there. That's what I used to do. So, but trying to get one here from the U of M might be a problem.
John,
But
when you talk to him, he's got that egress road out to Bennett Lake Road gated off now.
Yeah.
It's barricaded, you can't get through there, so it's just something to put in the back of your mind when you talk.
Because we've been using that road, whether he liked it or not. 2 years ago, there was a thing going on in town in traffic. Filled with cars.
Mr. Supervisor.
Yes, this is Alan Lawrence, our engineer.
What I'd like to point out is whenever Mr. Atwell comes in, the distance that we're talking about on the road, neither I will go for nor the fire chief, either one of us, so they're going to have to do some pretty fancy things in there to even get a road through there. And John talking about the planning commission, I'm sure the planning commission's gonna tell them, on the road, we're going to. So he's got a lot of things he's got to look at before we get there. Times have changed since the last time he sent in his plan. So a lot of that will change.
it needs to. That's a serious concern.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate it. Anything else?
I'm all set.
All right.
Thank you
Is
very
anybody
much.
else here presently that would like to address the board? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to those attending via Zoom. We do have quite a few people that have attended this evening. Doesn't mean they all want to speak. Is there anyone that's attending this meeting via Zoom that would like to address the board? And again, we were just we want to just make sure that you're talking just about Pinnacle Shores.
And you're all muted, so if anybody wants to talk out there, you gotta unmute. Because we're gonna.
I do have a couple of questions. My name is Sharon. We live, my husband and I, Kevin, live at 4373 Oak Tree Court. Will the home have a lien placed on them for the people that are not paying in full for this funded project? Or is that something, that will be assessed by each home, or what are your plans for that?
You broke up a bit, but I think what you're asking about is there going to be installment payment opportunities? Is that what the gist of your question is?
No, more or less if there's going to be liens placed on our homes until this assessment is paid full.
No, there's not liens. What will happen, assuming it moves forward, there'll be an assessment amount, we're gonna call it 8,000, don't quote me on it. But in round numbers, you'll have the opportunity to pay the 8,000 and you won't have to pay any interest on it. It's a big enough thing that we're gonna have to bond it if it goes forward. And the interest rate will be dictated by the market. When the bonds are sold, those rates are going up now. Okay, they used to be almost nothing. You can expect probably 5% rates by the time, and Tom, you fix me if I'm out of school here, but the rates are going up. So, is this a 15, 20, what are we talking about? 10. So the payments will be spread out over 10%. You'll be able to pay it off at any time with the only interest accrued through the date of when you pay it off. So you have all the options there, but even if it's 5% money, I'm old enough that I remember 20% money. So 5% money historically is still pretty cheap. And again, I'll reiterate my comments that this is a good investment for your subdivision.
That 5% goes all the way through the 10 years or whatever.
Yeah. Yes. Well, as long as you want. I mean, if you want to play it out the full 5 years or 10 years, yes.
That's not very.
Right, that is correct. It's fixed.
The balance at 5 years is $4,000, and I sell my house, is that $4,000 transferred to the new guy, or do I have to pay that lien or
It's a
pay that off?
contract
It's
issue
negotiated.
in your purchase agreement.
It's okay,
Yeah, it's negotiated.
but it has to be paid off.
No?
Oh, he can
No.
take it on?
No, he can assume
Okay,
it.
okay. He can assume it, okay.
Yeah, just like any other commercial building, if you sell it, there's a special assessment, it just goes along with the
Well,
purchase.
when I was on
That's
Runyon
good.
Lake, we had the loop back in the early 90s. We couldn't sell without paying that off.
I think the law has changed in that respect, but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
That's kind of the tail end of the process.
Right. All right, moving on. Is there anybody else that's attending this meeting via Zoom that would like to address the board on Pinnacle Shores?
I did have one more question as well. Is there any kind of, could we, maybe since it doesn't sound like we're gonna have much luck enforcing construction traffic vehicles, but what about signage for the front of our sub, suggesting that they use the Bennett Lake Road access?
That wouldn't be anything that we here at the Township
Road Commission.
Road Commission, you'd have to approach the Road Commission about that.
Okay. And lastly, maybe to put a few of our minds at ease, has there been any talk of a warranty for this project at all?
Nope.
They don't offer warranties on roads.
But you gotta maintain them. If you spend the $8,000 to put it in, you get a couple free years, then you gotta start watching them, you gotta start sealing cracks. And cracks get bigger, you gotta start doing, some more expansive seal coating. And, you don't wanna get to this point. You gotta be penny wise, not pound foolish.
All right. Is there anybody else attending via Zoom that would like to address the board? We have taken questions from both those attendants and those via Zoom. I will now close the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Just 52%, I applaud you folks. That's really hard to do. And we went through a couple different iterations of it. And it's surprising that we started with the cheaper alternative that was referenced by a couple of you folks of fixing this area and fixing that area. And what happened is the people that weren't getting new pavement weren't happy. So, and we had some roads that weren't included. They weren't happy. So it came back and the price tag went up. Say from 2 or 3 to 6, but at the end of the day, I think it was the right answer, and I think you guys have stumbled onto that on your own, and it sounds like it's been going on for a while, so in my opinion, you got to the right place. And our job here, this isn't anything we initiated, what we try to do is make sure that we are doing what the majority of the residents want. We can never make everybody happy because then we would never do anything. So we have, I think 52% of the frontage and 54% of the parcels. That's a miracle.
And if I could just add one thing to that, if you take Mr. Atwell's frontage out, it's probably closer to 60% of the residents who actually, that's pretty incredible.
He didn't sign the petition. No.
I was actually, that was one of the last things I was gonna bring up. I think the percentage would be a little higher if we took Mr. Atwell's properties out.
It's in the low 60s if you exclude
Well, you
those
can
20.
feel a little better about that, because he's gonna have to write some checks too.
I was gonna also say that. You have to remember, he's gonna have to be the one writing checks on, I think, 9 parcels? 20 parcels. So do the math on that, you can extrapolate that out as we sit here.
Pass it on.
Well, you know, I can't reiterate what John said. It's amazing that you got 60% to do this, because this is not a cheap job. Some of these come across, they're a couple $100,000. It's $2,000 over 10 years. But I think, like things have changed. The road will be done correctly, especially, like Tom said, you're getting curbs and gutters. In doing that, they should be able to correct all of your water issues, your runoff issues, things like that, and you'll have a new road. If you look at $8,000, it's a lot of money, but if I was out looking for a house, I can guarantee you, and I've driven your road twice in the last 2 weeks, I don't think I'd be buying a house on your road. So I really truly believe that the $8,000 you can make up at a sale at any time. So, and again, I'm not trying to sell you on it because it has nothing to do with me, but I certainly like using the present value of money. You don't want to wait another 3 or 4 years and try to do this process again, because you could be over $1 million. It's never going to get cheaper. So, anyway. All right. Any other questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing none. Okay, resolution number 2023-15. Clerk Krug, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, this resolution determines that the petitions submitted meet the over 50% requirement of the statute, approves the preliminary plans at an estimated cost of $800,000, creates the Pinnacle Shore Street Improvement Special Assessment District, which includes all properties, lots 1 through 112, in the Pinnacle Shores number 1, Pinnacle Shores number 2, and Pinnacle Shores number 3, a plotted subdivision. Directs the supervisor to create a special assessment role and repeals any conflicting resolutions. I will move the resolution.
Second.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Yes, contract.
Abstain.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's
Patrick
right.
is,
Sorry.
we had a vote last time to have you
Yeah.
abstain on all this
Yeah,
through the
because
process.
I live in this subdivision, have an interest.
That's right, we said you were gonna pay double. You don't like it then, okay. Kessler.
Yes.
I vote yes. Gopal.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
So the next step in the process, the county road commission will provide the township with a contract, a local road contract, which will come back to a future meeting. Once we approve that, they will start the design. Once that is done, they'll bid it out. That's why when Travis said it's probably a 24 project, this is not a quick process. The design will take probably a few months, and if they finish it in the summer, that's the worst time to bid it out. We had a project last year bid out in the summer, came in double the estimate. They rebid it in December. It was 3% over the estimate. So the special assessment role they talked about in the resolution, that won't happen until we get bids, which could be later this year. So just so you're not expecting something to happen soon, it will take some time.
And also, following that timeline, remember that it wouldn't show up on your tax bill probably until winter taxes of 2024. All right, motion passes. Next under public hearings is an application for industrial facilities exemption certificate, Allied Industrial Solutions, LLC. The purpose of this public hearing is to consider the application of Allied Industrial Solutions for an industrial facilities exemption certificate, or basically a tax abatement, for equipment to be acquired and installed at 3061 Thompson Road within Industrial District Development Number 4. Operations Manager Broker, will you provide additional details, and can you also review the IFT?
Sure.
I know how to clear a room. Thank you.
Have Mexican for lunch.
So this property was created as an industrial development district in 1980. It was For those of you who've been around long enough, it was the Carpenter Enterprise building at one time, and it was actually the temporary Fenton Township office when we did our reconstruction here 21 years ago. So Allied Industrial has submitted their application for personal property or equipment that they are in the process or have purchased within the last 6 months for their facility. They're projecting that they will not only retain their, I think it was 80 jobs, let me find it here, retain 80 jobs and add 12 new jobs within 2 years. Total investment's a little over $1 million. Using the limit for exemptions, I've updated that along with the Miller Industries one that was provided. We are still well below the maximum for the township. We're actually around 1% and with a statutory limit of 5%. The recommended term based on the level of investment and the number of new jobs is 9 years for the abatement.
All right. I will now open it up for public comment. Is there anyone here that's in attendance that would like to address the board this evening? Yes, sir.
I'm Kevin Kramer. I'm the Vice President of Allied Industrial. We've been in our current facility for almost 6 years now. Since we've been there, we've grown pretty rapidly. I know when we first purchased the facility, we had about 25 jobs. We're up to about 80 now. We've done relatively significant investment over the last 6 months. We're planning over the next year as well to continue our investment, and we're looking to add another 12 jobs through, well, at least 12 jobs with the equipment that we've committed to purchasing here. So that's pretty much it.
All right, Kevin. So just the timeline, when you purchased it, you had approximately 20. You now have...
No, so I was saying over the last 6 years. So 6 years ago when we purchased our facility, we had about 25 jobs. When we bought the equipment, we had about 80 employees in that facility last year. We expect we'll be up to 92 to 100-ish, I would expect, within the next 2 years.
Great growth.
Excuse my ignorance, but what kind of business do you run? I see we got some welders and some lathes and things. What kind of shop you got?
So we're in industrial manufacturing, and distribution business as well. So we call in a lot of automotive plants and just general manufacturers around the entire Midwest.
So you do parts?
We do parts. We do just general fabrication. We do machines. We do a little bit of everything for general manufacturing.
Is there anyone? Hold on just one. Is there anybody else that's attending here this evening that would like to address the board? I do have to go to Zoom. Is there anybody attending via Zoom that would like to address the board? All right, hearing now, I will close public hearing. Now, is there any questions or comments?
Well, I was going to ask him, so the equipment, it's already been purchased, or the plan is to purchase it?
So some has already been purchased over the last 6 months, and then there was an additional piece of equipment that they had already purchased, and it's currently being installed in our facility. But everything there's been installed here over the last 6 months.
And then what's so those 12 jobs are expected to last for, are they expected to, you said they'll be adding 12 jobs over the next year or so? Or?
Within the next 2 years, I would anticipate.
And then those are expected to be there long term?
They'll be there long term. They'll be there for the lifespan of the equipment, which all this equipment should have a lifespan of somewhere between 15 to 20 years.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments from the board?
I was just asking Tom, how much is that actually translating to tax money that the township is collecting for this?
For just the township you're talking, Mark?
Yeah, just the township.
At the 0.65.
What is it? 250 times 0.6, about 150 bucks.
Okay.
About 100.
I always ask that, just to let the public know what they're actually, what
Yep. Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none. Okay, resolution number 2023-16. Clerk Crew, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, thank you. Determines that the granting of the exemption shall not impede the operation of the township or impair the financial soundness of the taxing unit. Approves the application for the exemption certificate to Industrial Development District Number 4. Approves the exemption for a period of 9 years. I'll move the resolution.
Second.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Crew, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Gopal?
Yes.
Tucker?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Kotrick?
Yes.
I vote yes. Reed?
Yes.
Kessler?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Congratulations, Kevin. Thank you for expanding in our township.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
Thank you for the jobs. Good boy.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. All right, moving on to the next business orders reports. Are there any committee reports to be made to the board this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next business order, which is communications. None. Moving on to adoption of ordinances, we have, nope, we've taken that off. So I will move on to unfinished business, which we have none. And moving on to new business is the 2023 Genesee County Road Commission Dust Control Contract. Operations Manager Broker, will you review?
Yes, we do have the standard contract proposal from the Road Commission for application of calcium chloride to our unpaved roads. If you will recall, last year, for the first time in many years, the board approved the second application. For many years, we did the first application, which was split between the township and the county, and the third application in the fall that was 100% paid by the county. Because of the number of dust-related complaints in '21, the board did approve the middle application in June or July, which is 100% paid by the township, but the result of that was far, far fewer dust-related complaints on the unpaved roads last year. So even though there is a 16% projected increase in the cost of calcium chloride, my recommendation would be to approve the same thing we did last year, which is all three applications. Our total cost, based on the cost projections they've given us, is just under $41,000 for the year.
Thanks, Tom, I appreciate it. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing none, I need a motion to approve the 2023 Genesee County Road Commission Dust Control Program, including applications of 38% liquid calcium chloride at a rate of 2,000 gallons per mile as follows. One application in late April or in early May, with the cost divided equally between Fenton Township and the Genesee County Road Commission. One application in late June or early July, with 100% of that cost being paid by Fenton Township. And one application in mid-September with 100% of that cost being paid by the Genesee County Road Commission. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Crew, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Kessler?
Yes.
I vote yes. Reed?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Kotrick?
Yes.
Tucker?
Yes.
Gopal?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thanks, Bob. All right, next under new business is the proposed revision to the Fenton Township 2023 meeting schedule, and this is to rescheduling the May 2nd meeting. Tom, will you remove? I know we reviewed the memo in our packets, but Tom, can you explain?
Sure. Lake Fenton has scheduled a special meeting, or requested a special election on May 2nd, and which conflicts with one of our scheduled meeting dates. My recommendation is, rather than shift our meetings, which will cause other meetings to shift, I think we can amend the schedule to just eliminate that meeting. It will be a 4-week gap, but I don't think that's going to cause any significant problems.
Sorry.
And we also noticed we had a conflict that we missed when we adopted the schedule. We had both the ZBA and the board meeting on December 19th, so the revised schedule moves the ZBA meeting back to the 18th on a Monday.
Thanks, Tom. All right, any questions or comments from the board before Mark makes that motion? Okay, I need a motion to adopt the revised 2023 Fenton Township meeting schedule as presented.
I will move that motion, sir.
Support.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Tucker?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Watch you vote against it. Gopal?
Yep.
Kessler?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Kotrick?
Yes.
And I also vote yes, motion passes.
Thanks, Bob. All right, the next business order is board comment. Is there anyone on the board who has additional comments or concerns? Hearing none, we will move on to the next business in order, which is public comment on agenda and non-agenda items. We will now open up the meeting for public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. First, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on any item that's on the agenda or not? Hearing none, we will move to Zoom. Is there anybody that's attending via Zoom that would like to address the board on an agenda or non-agenda item? If so, please take yourself off mute and feel free to address the board. All right, nobody on Zoom. There is nobody here. It is now 7:41 p.m. If there's nothing else, I say good night and the meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
An hour and 10.
I was not expecting